Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we review, dissect, and explain in excruciating detail Nick Cage movies. And sometimes, just sometimes, we got to talk about 9/11. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, here to talk to you about another movie that involves some 9/11. How are we feeling, guys?
Oh, shit. Was I supposed to watch World Trade Center?
No, not yet. God damn it. I forgot that we actually have a legitimate 9/11 movie in the filmography that we're going to have to cover.
Well, we're saving that one for September.
Of course. Never forget.
Never forget.
And I don't intend to it.
We are here to talk about I had never heard of this movie before it popped up on our list, which once we get into the details is frankly kind of absurd, in my opinion. Just not because it's a particularly stellar film, but just because of the individuals involved. I'm surprised I never saw anything about it beforehand. That movie, of course, being Army of One, a 2016 release rated R and clocks in at a merciful hour and 32 minutes, which is not bad.
Yeah, but I was very surprised. I was surprised. I've never heard of this movie, considering who's in it, when it was released.
The
director part is what floored me. When I started digging into the director, I was like, how did I miss this? How did everybody miss this?
Yeah, we can start talking about it whenever, though.
Well, let's jump right into housekeeping. So one of the reasons why we're so surprised is the director. The director is Larry Charles. He's done a couple of things that you might have heard of, including
Dilbert, the TV show.
I was gonna say he fucking produced the Dilbert TV show.
sorry, Josh.
Was this one of the times that somebody scammed Scott Adams out of 50 grand?
But no, he directed Borat, Bruno, The Dictator, all of the Sacha Baron Cohen stuff.
Not the latest Borat, though.
No, they made another one?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that got like Rudy Giuliani like in mega trouble.
Oh shit, I do remember that one.
Yeah, when the girl is very is very much saying that she is 16 and he's like unbuckling his pants.
Yeah, so I remember catching that clip and thinking it was a huge gotcha at the time. And the reason why I forgot about it entirely is because of the transcripts of his conversations with that one woman that got released, that just it obliterated that much more minor gotcha out of my mind entirely. Did you guys read those?
No, I didn't.
No, I remember hearing about them, but I never got around to actually reading them.
I highly recommend that you do. It's incredibly fucked up, but also it is like literally the worst, most repulsive game to the point that it transcends to absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad, but you got to check out some of the fucking choice quotes from it. It's something.
Fair.
And also Larry Charles directed a fair bit of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And he wrote like 30-ish episodes of Seinfeld. Let me see the exact number.
He did a lot
28.
He did a lot of like pretty good sitcoms.
He wrote some Arsenio Hall show episodes.
He wrote some Mad About You, which was good. He wrote some Tick episodes.
Oh, I love the
and
Tick.
He executive produced them too.
Not that I'm a huge fan of this show, but I'm sure that we have some crossover people who like it. He wrote 4 episodes of The Entourage.
And executive produced like 24 of them or something like that.
Wrote an episode of New Girl.
Yeah, I mean, the guy clearly knows his shit. It's just, again, it's crazy to me that this didn't hit more radars. I wonder what happened with that.
Well, I mean, if my experience with the movie is anything to go by, people probably saw it and then were like, well, I'm never going to think about that again.
It's possible. It's relatively low stakes. I found it intriguing.
This is the kind of shit my stepdad would rave about for like months at a time if he saw on like fucking HBO or something. And I would watch it once and then be like, it was all right.
I guess it was the implications of it that got me. The fact that it was very loosely based on a true story that seemed frankly ridiculous, but I don't know. The writers is maybe where this fell apart a little bit. Just again, I'm just judging by CVs here. We have Rajiv Joseph up first, who wrote for Nurse Jackie, Draft Day, My America, and Dear Edward. Not overly familiar with those besides Nurse Jackie. And then the second writer is Scott Rothman, who did Draft Day and this movie. Very, very tiny CV there.
And
So
Draft Day sucks if you like football.
I've never seen it.
He sucks if you don't like football.
I was gonna say I don't like football, and I'm sure that movie sucks.
Yeah, it's not very good.
So from there, we transition to the cast. First up, as always, is Nick Cage playing Gary Faulkner, the protagonist of the film. Next up, we have Russell Brand as God from such films as Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek. He does a voice in Despicable Me, the various films there, and that's about it. Next up, we have Wendy McLendon Covey as Marcy Mitchell, who's been in Bridesmaids, Blended, the MODOK animated series with Patton Oswalt, Bob's Burgers.
I liked that. That's one of the few Marvel things I actually enjoyed.
Yeah,
recently.
that was entertaining. And of course, my favorite, Reno 911.
Yes.
Yeah.
Far and away. Best performance, in my personal opinion. I still quote that all the fucking time.
Because it's a perfect television show.
It really is.
Yeah,
I honestly,
the opening gags is my favorite thing, when they're always chasing somebody and they're trying to figure out the license plate and then just rear end something is always gets me every time.
She's also in something I've got to shout out because it's always insane. So there's this insane history. Do you know about the Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy film rights bullshit that he's been pulling for the past 40 years?
No.
Okay, so Warren Beatty, since he put out that Dick Tracy movie, has been retaining the film rights to Dick Tracy by occasionally just showing up on TV dressed like Dick Tracy and calling it a Dick Tracy special every however long it takes for the copyright to crap out, just to make sure that he retains those movie rights and no one else can make a Dick Tracy movie. She was in the 2010 version of that. They did one this year that it's just Warren Beatty dressed like Dick Tracy on Zoom talking to some dude.
That's fucking
now I kind of want to
great.
watch a super cut of that.
That's all it ever is. The 2010 one, it's Dick Tracy in quotes being interviewed by Leonard Maltin. It's this whole weird history of him just trying to shirk the film rights to make sure that no one else can ever make a Dick Tracy movie, which is justified because that movie whips ass.
That's so good.
I do have to call out my two favorite quotes from Reno 911, since we already opened this door. Every day, because I'm an older person, aging enough that I take daily medications, and every time I take my daily medications, I do the Trudy Weigel. This one wakes me up. This one calms me down. This one keeps the demons from dancing all around. And then the other one I always quote is actually from Wendy McLendon Covey, where she's on the stand and she's like, the prosecutor's asking her, he's like, did he did he ever call you any slurs? He's like, he called me a honky sometimes, and he'd goose me. And the guy goes, did he ever call you a honky while he was goosing you? And she pauses and she goes, sometimes. Anyway. Moving on, we have Amar Chadha Patel as Osama bin Laden, who was in Dashcam, Wheel of Time, the Willow TV series. But this was really early on in his career. I think it was his maybe second or third thing he'd ever appeared in. Next up, we have Paul Scheer.
Oh, no. We're not done talking about him.
Oh, good.
Because fuck that Wheel of Time show. I hate the books, but I hate that show even more. But most importantly, he was in a movie called Sexy Vulva, based on a true story that I just needed to mention because,
honestly, that's a miss on my part because I read it and for some reason did not include it.
You got to include it. That's all I had to say about him. But
next up, we have Paul Scheer as Pickles, who you've definitely seen this guy in a couple of things, maybe in The League.
That's where I
Veep.
know him from. He's
He's
the man who bought the Kloonberg.
He
yeah,
did buy the Kloonberg.
He's been in I think at least 3 episodes of Drunk History, just all of the TV shows. He was in Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
One of my favorite movies of all fucking time.
He's been in a lot of shit and is always pretty entertaining.
I remember, didn't he used to do like I Love the 70s and I Love the 80s on like
he might have, yeah,
fucking VH1.
VH1.
He might have. He is a TV mainstay. I mean, this guy is just bread and butter TV stuff for short runs, and it's got to be entertaining to do your career that way. I don't think he has to work too hard nowadays to secure
he was in an
one
episode
of
of
those
Party
jobs.
Down.
What was that?
Yeah, he
He was in an
was.
episode of Party Down.
Yeah.
He was like Roman's writing partner or something like that. I fucking love Party Down.
Yes,
I thought
I'm
so.
pretty sure that's what the whole spiel on that was. And he ends up like doing the like getting some teenagers or little kids to help him with the writing or some shit in that episode.
No. I remember it explicitly. He was a writer that I think started with Roman but took off because he got the rights to. It might have been like Snow Crash or something like that, because I remember the episode specifically.
Yeah, the Neil Stevenson novel that's like weird and creepy, but also very fucking funny.
Snow Crash is an awesome book, by the way. I highly recommend it. But no, he's the Party Down guys are working like some cast party for this, and the author is there, and he's an old weird sci-fi book writer. And so Paul Scheer brings him into the bathroom to do coke off of a sex worker's tits. And the guy dumps the entire container of cocaine on this woman's chest, and it just goes everywhere, all over the floor. And Paul Scheer freaks out. It's very funny.
He was also in the original short Weird, the Al Yankovic story, the one that is the guy
like
from Breaking
college
Bad.
humor like a trailer kind of deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will always shout out Weird Al shit.
No, also that's fine. And also Paul Scheer earns those accolades, man. He's worth talking about. Next up, we have Will Sasso as Roy, who's been in Happy Gilmore, Southland Tales, the Three Stooges remake, and quite famously is run on Mad TV. One of my favorite things that I know him for is his impression of Jesse Ventura.
And since I found the lead, like the main character of this movie, to be very Yu-Gi-Oh player coded, Will Sasso also did a voice on Yu-Gi-Oh for like 2 episodes.
Really? I did not know that.
He was on cool. Yu-Gi-Oh Arc V, which is one of the like sequel series. It's not the one where they duel with sick motorcycles that turn into card tables, but you know.
So 3 things that I will mention him for. The first one is he plays the mentally challenged brother in Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is a movie that more people should fucking watch because it's fucking great. He was in Best in Show. And he also feuded with Bret the Hitman Hart in WCW in the year 2000.
Yo, as a fake Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
I don't remember, but I do remember that they did this thing on Mad TV, and it's the silliest thing in the world because Bret Hart is not a great actor, where they have Bret Hart, quote unquote, beat him up for real and then put him in the sharpshooter. But like everybody is acting as if it's really happening, and it's very funny.
So next up, we have Dennis O'Hare as Agent Doss, whose name I don't know if it's ever actually used in this film. But he was in Dallas Buyers Club, The Proposal, Garden State. We're legally required to shout out that film. He was in American Horror Story. And then my favorite performance of his is like a 5-minute spot that is just a nice jewel in a very good movie. Michael Clayton.
Oh, it's not the Vampire King Russell Edgington from True Blood?
Oh,
I
shit, I
forgot
he was in
movie.
that.
Yeah,
him.
He was.
Yeah,
but no,
Russell Edgington, the edgy boy.
His appearance in Michael Clayton was perfect. He was like in and out 5-minute scene, and it was masterfully executed. And then last but certainly not least, we have Rainn Wilson as Agent Simmons, who all of you will know from The Office, and a select few of you
Oh, I had a joke
might
lined up for him. I was like, where everybody will know this man from playing the Rocker.
very few of you might know him from Super, which is weirdly a little analogous to this movie, which is about a guy
Yeah.
who thinks God is giving him a command to become a superhero. And he dresses in a weird red suit and hits people with a pipe wrench. It's kind of fucked up, but I found it to be a good film.
He's also in a movie I quite like that feels very true to life for me personally, called Hesher, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, about a little kid who develops this relationship with like a metalhead who's just kind of a scumbag. He shows up in a couple of scenes in that, and Hesher just, it rings really true to me as someone who grew up in a neighborhood with a couple of like slightly older kind of scumbag metalheads.
He was also in Shimmer Lake, right? That was at a Netflix movie.
Don't know, haven't seen it.
It kind of tries to ape Fargo, if I remember correctly. Just a bunch
Okay.
of incompetent crimes happening. But I think he was in that.
That's
I might be
fair.
entirely wrong. That was completely off the dome. So
Oh shit, he was also in Galaxy Quest, which if I see Galaxy Quest, I have to shout out Galaxy Quest.
You didn't know he was in Galaxy Quest? Like
I didn't remember. It's been a minute since I've seen it.
Oh, and both he and Wendy McLendon Covey were in Solar Opposites, which is a show I have not seen.
It's not very good.
Well, it was a part of the cancellation of Justin Roiland too. So
Yeah. Also, Rich, you missed Rainn Wilson was in Weird the Al Yankovic story.
Oh
So
yeah, he was Dr. Demento.
Yeah,
he was
that's right.
Dr. Demento.
Which I thought was actually a perfect casting. They look almost exactly the same.
So now with that, we can move on to the plot. Psych. It's time for ads. You know what time it is. You got your watches set. We all do. Listen to these ads for gas station dick pills.
Wow, Rolex is really hitting the bottom of the barrel advertising with us. I guess we talk about time a lot.
So now we can get into the plot of this movie, such as it is, and just start digging in, because there's kind of a lot to unpack here. So we get our opening credits, and these are accompanied by audio from you get multiple different news broadcasts kind of running together, talking about this individual, Gary Faulkner, who tried to hunt down Osama bin Laden. This occurs while the credits roll, and then it sort of coalesces into a single interview, or not interview, like news broadcast that actually acts as our narrator at a couple of points in the story, which explains how Faulkner, armed only with a sword and a knife, went to Pakistan to hunt down Osama bin Laden. This voiceover is accompanied by a fucking scene of Nick Cage as Gary Faulkner paragliding over a desert landscape in a full Evil Knievel outfit.
It
with
was
an
very
American
funny.
flag, hang glider, holding a samurai sword with a jukebox, boombox, duct taped to the railing of the hang glider.
I don't know why it gave me heavy Charlie Kelly energy.
Yeah, that actually probably wouldn't have been a bad casting choice, but
No,
if
not
it was, we
necessarily, yeah.
wouldn't be talking about this, unfortunately.
Even less people would have seen this movie.
So we cut from there to Gary at age 12, who he has a balloon on a stick, which is a thing that I haven't seen in ever. That's like an old timey thing, right?
I guess it was like kicking a can down the road or something, and that's called.
Or you've got the stick and you've got the the wheel that you're rolling down the road, maybe.
Oh, a stick and hoop.
Stick and hoop, yeah.
Good old fashioned stick and hoop. No, I honestly, I think it was from when you don't just have tanks of helium around, but balloons are super cheap to give out at fucking carnivals. But since they don't float, you put them on the end of a wooden dowel. So, you know what I mean?
They
Yeah.
still
But
charge
I honestly, I
$3
don't
for
know
them.
the origin of that as like a kid's thing to have. So who knows? So little Gary has his balloon popped by some bullies when he hears the voice of Russell Brand as God, and God tells him he's special and that his balloonless stick is a sword and that'll protect him. Also, he drops a revelation that his bully becomes a meth head later in life or something like that and dies during a drug deal gone wrong.
Yeah.
So we flash to 35 years later in Greeley, Colorado, and Gary is sleeping under an American flag blanket surrounded by crushed beer cans in like an unfinished attic that is clearly a job site.
Yeah.
Which was a thing, I believe I read, that he would sleep at job sites.
He was a contractor, but I couldn't find anything that conclusively proved that he did used to sleep at job sites, but who knows. So then we get more narration indicating, like from the fallout of this and subsequent court cases, that Gary was legally determined to be a sane individual for whatever that's worth. But then we cut to Gary getting dialysis. And this is the first time we hear Nick Cage voice this individual that he's playing. And he does an absolutely ridiculous voice for no reason. And
yeah, because they have footage of the guy at the end of the movie. And he
I
doesn't talk
know.
like that.
Which blew my mind. I take my notes as I watch it the first time. And so, like, right from the jump, I'm like, he's doing a ridiculous voice for this guy. I don't know why he's doing it. And then when they were playing the actual interviews that there are videos of that you can go and watch right now on the internet, and the guy sounds nothing like that. He sounds normal. But Nick Cage talks like this the whole fucking movie. I don't know why he did that.
It's because he's trying to let Bob Hoskins know he killed his brother.
I wonder if it was like in his contract, like with Peggy Sue got married, like I'll do it, but I got to do a funny voice. Because he's just like the whole time watching the movie, I'm just expecting him to say Huang.
Huang.
You mean my Huang?
Your throbbing thunderhammer.
No, he sounds like a slower speaking Ben Shapiro throughout the entirety of
Oh
the
my
film.
God, yes.
I know.
Holy shit, I didn't make that connection, but yeah.
He's just not talking fast. It's that pitch.
It's
but
Ben
a very
Shapiro
different
without
cadence.
the amphetamines.
Now, hang on. Let's just say, for argument's sake, let's just say, and I'm not saying this is true, but I'm just saying, what if Nick Cage was a woman? I'm not saying he is, and I'm saying that if he was, I would not gender him properly. But just for sake of argument, let's say that Nick Cage walks into a woman's room. That's why I didn't think this one out. So
it doesn't matter. It's too easy to do the Ben Shapiro. Honestly, if you're trying to be some sort of orator and pushing rhetoric, you shouldn't make yourself so easily lampoonable.
Yeah.
That's just my personal cheap free advice for Ben Shapiro. I would get a voice coach.
Or just stop taking enough Adderall to kill a small horse.
No. Admit that you don't have a wife, please.
It's first of all, no. He has a wife. She's a doctor, but there's other
that's
problems.
Where he gets
there.
all the Adderall from.
Yeah, and according to her, a wet vagina is a yeast infection that you can't touch her for a year.
Yeah, no.
Good for her, honestly.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro is convinced the average adult woman's vagina is just 2 sheets of sandpaper sandwiched together. Anyway, but also Ryan, I don't think it's chemically induced. I think Ben Shapiro thinks the faster you talk, the smarter you are. It's the Jimmy Taco bit from fucking I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
He's like, I said it first, so that means it's right. Anyway, yeah, his voice is ridiculous, which caused me to almost miss at least half of his opening rant, which is about how great chicken wings are in America.
I mean, he's not wrong, but when he says it like that.
Let me see if I can get a good clip of his voice so that the audience can really get like a good Oh, here we go. This is the point where I realize that, like, okay, we're in for something here.
Worst part of having this bad kidney, getting dialysis 3 times a week, is they won't let me eat chicken wings. Man, this country makes the best goddamn chicken wings in the world. Now, I haven't seen the whole world. I haven't tasted the chicken wings in Africa, but I'd be willing to bet the right ball on a broke dick dog that no place makes better wings than they do here.
There we go.
Look, all I'm saying is, if he's just talking about deep fried chicken wings, Korea does it better.
You know what? I don't disagree, but honestly, it's just a different style.
It's a different style, yeah, but I do prefer the good Korean fried chicken. They know what to do with that. It's so good.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I have an so I'm just gonna ask, hey, screen share, what do you think about what Ryan just said?
You're a terrorist, aren't you?
That's a pretty good callback.
Yeah.
Pretty good callback.
I had to have it queued up. We're talking about Osama bin Laden. We're gonna get at least 4 more of that
Yeah.
5-second clip.
Yeah, might as well keep that handy. I'm not gonna lie.
I bet Gary Faulkner loves The Good Doctor in real life.
I don't know, man.
Absolutely. He loves a good CBS drama.
Yeah.
Dude slept on, first of all, dude slept on job sites. If that part is true, Gary Faulkner strikes me as the kind of person who, after the whole Osama bin Laden thing went pear-shaped, doesn't watch TV. You know what I mean?
Well, he doesn't watch news anymore.
Maybe.
A man of that age cannot deny the siren song of television.
So here's where I want to make an explicit distinction.
Of one Gutfeld.
Because this movie came out in 2016. And any of our listeners who happen to be in America and happen to be politically aware might have realized there was some very weird merging of some rhetorical devices and concepts that sort of just conflated a bunch of things into a singular entity across multiple sides. But in this film, Gary is sort of one of those old school dudes who would show up to a 4th of July barbecue in matching American flag button down and shorts type patriot, not somebody who describes themselves as a patriot and you're like, oh, so you like QAnon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These used to be separate.
These used to be the good uncle and they turned into the bad uncle.
Yes.
Kind of, right?
Yeah, because this was definitely a pre-Trump
fun uncle
film.
that brings the lawn darts, and then now you've got the bad uncle that won't shut up about how Hillary is stealing children.
Yeah, they didn't used to be the same thing. There was some division there. And unfortunately, I think this movie was made at a perfect time to make it incredibly culturally irrelevant in this portrayal. Which maybe that's why nobody knows about it.
That might be it, yeah.
We all were really busy as far as our public opinions were concerned, like right after this movie came out.
Yeah, you know what? I think I just realized why this movie probably went under the radar. I'm checking right now. Okay, yeah, you know what its release date was? November.
Was it in fucking November?
November 4th. You know what the
God
election was?
damn it.
November 6th.
Nobody wanted to see shit like this then, unless you really wanted to, and then you're getting made fun of.
No fucking shit. That's it. That's 100% why it was seen by nobody. That's so fucking funny. They made, honestly, the run up to the actual premiere date, the director, everybody involved in the production of this film had got to be thinking like, fuck.
People are gonna think we're weird.
Fuck. This is gonna be a flop. That's a bomb. Throw down their production hats with Army of One on it.
I mean,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it made less than $400,000 in the box office.
Whew. What was the budget?
I'm
not even seeing it, but just judging on who's in this, I'm gonna guess at least 15 million.
I gotta ask my good friend Barney Google what the budget was for this.
So while you're looking that up, just to try and get a little bit further into this plot. So Gary's the kind of person who rants about how amazing America is and he bases this on really benign generic stuff like food and the nebulous concept of freedom and stuff like that. So we cut from him getting dialysis, ranting at people, to him at a bar with his friends, again ranting in general, talking out about how bad foreign beer is, which is flat out incorrect. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Look,
even
those
shitting on.
Czechs know how to brew some fucking beer. I'll tell you that much.
I'm
Yeah,
not even
I
shitting
only
on domestic
drink-
beers. We got some good ones, but
I only drink
goddamn.
American beer when I'm feeling trashy as fuck. When I'm just like, yo, I am white trash living in the woods. Let me get a Bud Light, please.
I'm admittedly a bit of a beer snob, and we've got some seriously good craft breweries over here. But if we're talking macro brews, Europe's got where it's at. Like, they know what the fuck to do with yeast, grains, and fucking hops. Also, I could not find the budget. It seems to be hidden from my knowledge.
So while they're at the bar, a news story comes on about the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and Gary goes off about how they're doing it all wrong. And a guy wearing a U.S. Marine Corps hat takes offense to Gary's indictment of the armed forces. And it looks like it might come to blows of some sort, despite, again, Gary's immediate capitulation and deference to a former member of the armed services, which I always find a little bit funny personally. This is probably just because I grew up with a bunch of kids who, knowing their financial situations, like signed up for the military, got out, are the same ridiculous people that I went to high school with. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Gary challenges this Marine to a knife throwing contest in a bar at the dartboard. And if the Marine threw the knife better, he'd buy everybody drinks. Or I'm sorry, if the Marine threw the knife better, Gary would buy everybody in the bar drinks. And if Gary did, the Marine would buy Gary and his friends drinks and apologize. And so the Marine throws his knife at the dartboard and sinks it in. Also, it's a huge fucking knife. If you've never tried throwing a knife at a target, it is very difficult to get that shit to land point first.
Yeah, you gotta have the right balance on it.
Especially a knife not made for fucking throwing. Almost all knives are not made for throwing. That's not what they're designed to do.
And also it's into a dartboard, which is, you know, not very thick. That dartboard is now destroyed.
It's a half inch of cork. That's it. That's all it is.
Maybe not even. Like, I've got a dartboard on my fucking wall. If I threw a knife through it, that thing would split in half.
So the Marine does a solid throw, sinks it. It's off the bullseye, but by about.
But it's like in the triples.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's not a bad fucking throw. And Gary has it. And at this point, I'm like, either Gary is going to sink this dead in the bullseye or it's going to go completely off the rails. And the movie does a good job at the comedy here because, like, I thought he was going to, like, whip it and it would, like, bounce off something or whatever. But Gary rears back, he throws the knife, and he hits his own friend who has just walked out of the bathroom and walked in front of the dartboard, not knowing what was going on, directly in the shoulder, which is hilarious. And then we get like a little bit of narration, like about how this isn't the first time this dude has gotten hit with a knife that's been thrown. So it wasn't really a big deal. It's pretty funny. But you know what's not funny? Goods and services. They're out there. And you want them. And we have some people who are very interested in telling you about theirs.
Rhino 69 is very funny.
That is funny. But they haven't sponsored us yet. So until you sponsor us and let us do an ad read ourselves, which would whip ass, you're going to have to listen to these other randomly generated ads. So here you go.
Also, while your third eye is opened by all of these ads, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/NickCageFight. Open up that fourth eye. That's your pee hole.
I was going to say, is that the dick hole?
It is.
Well, for our dick having people, yes, but it's just the pee hole in general. That's your fourth eye.
For those who don't, it's you know, it's your clit.
And just do you know how a vagina works?
No.
Everybody has a pee hole.
And just urinate some of that money onto us. We all enjoy golden showers when the gold is actually gold. I like gold. I like showers. What's wrong with the golden shower?
It honestly, it does sound better than it actually
I wanted to make a sounding joke, but it wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll workshop that one. I think we can make that happen. So
Coming soon, sounding jokes.
so now I need your guys' help with deciphering this next scene because I had a hard time parsing it. Is Gary working at this hardware store or is he just being a fucking menace?
I think he's being a menace. I'm pretty sure he's being a menace. I did not get the vibe that he worked there.
I kind of did.
I mean, like maybe, but he would have been fired immediately. Like
I don't think he worked there. I think
know.
he was just hustling.
Yeah, no, what the vibe I got was that he spends a lot of time there, enough time that he has read the made in information on almost every standard piece of equipment that he could get his hands on.
So he's just like Ron Swansoning like random passerbys. Like, I know more than you. This is what.
Well, I mean, to bring it back around to the Yu-Gi-Oh analogy, he's the guy that stands at the counter at the card store and he's like, no, you don't want that card. That costs too much and they're going to ban it in 2 weeks anyway.
Gotcha. Although I will say his bits here are kind of funny with just a little bit of racism, I guess, mixed in if you start reading into it.
Yeah.
Like he walks through like the faucet section. He's like, why would you buy a faucet made in a country where they're suffering from drought?
Yeah, why would you? Don't buy that toilet. It's made by pygmies. Their shits are too small. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
like they're not made to handle shits like you. Which again, another. I think you should leave bit. This is just joke fart hole toilets.
You're not a part of the turbo team.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd, but he does run into an old high school classmate, Marcy Mitchell, and Gary is socially awkward. So a lot of my notes where like the line didn't land for me or whatever, it's just Gary says some inappropriate shit. This is one of those scenes. But Marcy tells him that her sister that he knew when she was in high school as well passed away. And Marcy adopted her sister's kid. And then he's like, do you still have that awesome tattoo? And she turns around and lifts up the back of her shirt. And it's like an American flag print, like heart with wings that says living on a prayer. So she has an America Bon Jovi tramp stamp tattoo, which is
it's
amazing.
So good. That would annoy
comes up again a few more times in the movie.
Oh, it does.
That would annoy our Patreon followers so much.
Mm-hmm. It would. But also, the funniest part of this is we've spent a very small amount of time with Gary, but at this point in the film, this early on, that specific tattoo in that spot is like the perfect aphrodisiac for fucking Gary. That is kryptonite for
Gary
him.
Definitely followed Bon Jovi on tour in like 87.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a matching tattoo. But he invites Marcy out for ice cream, and she says, "All right, but you'll have to find me." And this is the first of multiple times I wrote down a specific quote from this film, which was, "They don't call me the psychic wizard for nothing." Which got me. That's pretty good.
That was like one of the three that actually made me laugh pretty fucking hard because I'm gonna use that in the future.
They don't call me the psychic wizard for nothing. It's solid.
That's good tabletop role-playing game fodder, baby.
Oh yeah.
So Gary is crashing at one of his bar friend Pickle's house. But unfortunately, because Gary likes to stay up late and watch the news in his underwear and scream at the TV, He has worn out his welcome and needs to find a new place to stay. Gary Pickles is very nice about all this. Like, Gary's shouting in the middle of the night at the TV, and Pickles is like, dude, you can't stay here anymore. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, like we
Um,
are trying to sleep.
it's too much.
You're yelling at Gutfeld on fucking Fox News.
Yeah, it's not a good roommate situation. So the next day, Gary is at dialysis, and Russell Brand as God appears to Gary in kind of like this was one of those scenes that was a little grating to me because they did like 50 tropes during the course of the conversation, and it just felt
It was
forced.
fine by me. That at least they were trying something here.
It's weird. Like,
Although
he
Yeah, I
appears,
liked it.
I do
He
want to
appears-
bring up something because I watched this with somebody else and they missed the part at the beginning where they said he had bad kidneys. Because I intuitively knew he was at dialysis because the big building with the sign. I guess he was looking down at his phone or some shit. I was like, is he selling plasma? Is that what's going on here?
that's not a bad guess.
No, it really isn't.
It's not a bad guess. But no, so like God's on the TV, then he's standing in front of him, then he's like projected on one of the medical like privacy curtains, then he's like on the actual like heart monitor shit. Then another patient is just talking in his voice. But the entirety of this boils down to God is giving Gary a mission to go and capture Osama bin Laden. And Gary takes this to heart.
He sure does.
He did to an absolutely bonkers degree. But he does show up at Marcy's house with some Dairy Queen ice cream cups, finding her just like he promised he would because he's a psychic wizard. So he gets to meet Marcy's
It's a
adopted
very
daughter.
cute scene.
Yeah, it's weirdly endearing.
It's all right. Yeah, so this is the part where Gary's particular brand of mania actually is portrayed as incredibly charming. So Marcy's adopted daughter doesn't talk, and she is in a wheelchair, and Marcy sort of tries to brace Gary for these particulars before they meet, but Gary is honestly very tactful with this. I mean, he still curses and says some kind of inappropriate shit. He tells her a whole story about how he got called jackass by his dad all the time.
Yeah,
But
when he asks what her spirit animal is and then just
yeah,
goes for it.
but the bit I like is she doesn't talk, but he just has his like running, rambling style of conversation with her, and just reacts like she is saying things to him, and it's played off like the adopted daughter Lizzie, I think her name is charmed by it. Marcy is very charmed by it, and it plays very well on screen, despite the fact that with other adults around him, Gary comes off as a very awkward and off-putting individual to a certain degree. So at this point, Gary tells Marcy about his plan to capture bin Laden. And Marcy is understandably skeptical of the whole thing, which is weird. Like, I thought they were setting up Marcy to play like the straight man character with like
That is what it seems like to start, but that's not what happens.
It doesn't play that way later at all.
No.
So she takes this as like almost the way it's played is like she's humoring this as like eccentricity of some sort, that that's Gary, that's what Gary's like, right?
Yeah.
But she still seems a bit into him to a certain extent.
It's that animal magnetism.
Yeah. So at some point during this meeting, Gary comments on the dilapidated state of the ramp that Marcy has at her house for Lizzie. And so the next morning, we see Gary tearing down and the messed up ramp and building a new one with his friends Roy and Pickles. Then we cut directly to Gary, Roy, and Pickles going to Vegas to win money to fund Gary's bin Laden mission. And this is actually one of the most discordant as far as the overall story is concerned, scenes in the film. This apparently is actually something that happened in the real life of Gary Faulkner. They go to Vegas and he got drunk and he does not remember basically anything that happened at Vegas.
I thought this was very funny because you kind of see it coming, but it's still very funny. I'll let you get through it. I laughed. I had a good belly laugh from this.
It's weird because like they threw in an element that just didn't make any sense to me. So, Gary shows up and he's telling his friends that the one bit that got me is like, we're on God's mission. God wants me to do this. So this is where we'll make the money to do it. Treat this place like a church.
Smoke weed in it.
And so they start gambling, and it's again like a trope that you see in gambling movies, which I know Rich loves, where there's a point where the main character can't lose. They're just going through. It was in one of the Hangover movies. It was in that Jason Statham movie where he gambles. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like a generic action movie.
Oh, it's Space Jam.
Yeah, that's it.
That's 100% the film.
So they can't seem to lose. They're winning at craps, at blackjack. The blackjack scene is great because Gary is like hitting on like a 16 or something like that.
No, it was a 17 because a 16.
17.
I think most people know that a 16 against a 7, 8, 9 or face card you hit.
Yeah, it was an absurd thing to hit on, but he gets like a fucking 2 and it's perfect for him. But one of the funny parts of this scene is he's smoking a joint at the table, and he gets told to put it out.
Man,
and then we
get old times on that. Walk through any casino nowadays, and all you smell is weed.
Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to smoke joints at the tables, though.
I'm almost positive you can, based on my experience working in a casino now.
That's fucking
I've never seen it because well, especially nowadays, the smoking sections are kind of few and far between, and tables generally are not in smoking sections. It's all the slot.
Got to go by the slot machines.
Yeah, it's all the dollar slots.
That's where the smokers have staked out their territory. The war is ongoing. But there's this like weird physical gag that's played the entire time we get the winning montages of like explicitly and purposefully strange looking individuals who are all wearing sunglasses are kind of hovering on the periphery of Gary and his friends. And it's a setup for like a weird conclusion that I still don't fully understand.
I fucking loved it. I loved the conclusion. I loved where it went. I thought it was very good.
So like Gary later is walking by himself through like the hotel hallways, and he runs into the 3 sunglassed men that have been in the background of the winning montage. And Gary is convinced they're Colombian drug dealers.
He calls them as such. He's like, you Colombian drug dealers. And they're just like, what? We're not Colombian. We're Mexican.
Well, I mean, but that's the funniest thing. Like Gary is yelling shit at them in English and they're speaking Spanish.
Well, it's a dream.
And yeah, and based on the subtitles, it is purely misunderstanding where they just want him to move so they can walk by him in the hallway, and it comes to blows, and so they attack him, and then the one dude runs to the housekeeping cart and grabs a vacuum to hit him over the head. And he's like explicitly.
Well, no, it escalates. It starts with like a serving tray, and then it's like one of the bigger tea service trays, and then it's the vacuum.
Yeah.
There's a very funny line too when he's like, "Hey, this ain't your rodeo, pal." And in Spanish, he says, "Rodeo? There's a rodeo in town.
There's a rodeo in town.
We should get tickets."
But it ends with him saying this is a message from Osama bin Laden. Stay out of Pakistan when he hits him with the vacuum. And then Gary wakes up in the hotel room and he's like, he's sleeping on the floor, which I find to be funny, while Pickles and Roy are like sleeping on the bed. And he's like, Colombian drug lords stole all my money. And they wake up and they're like, no, dude, you lost it all at the tables. He's like, you really should have quit while you were ahead. Let's go hit the breakfast buffet.
I thought it was good because I think like For me, so for the rest of the movie now, it casts doubt as to what is real and what's not, and I think that served its purpose.
I doubted that from the get-go. I did not need that.
I get why it's there, is all I'm saying. I understand the purpose of why that scene exists.
I get it, and it was a good bit of physical comedy and gags as far as that goes. But we cut back. So I didn't clarify this in the portion where he's talking with Marcy, but Gary basically foreshadows all the ways he can supposedly fund his hunt of Osama bin Laden. He says, he has a bigger nest egg than you would expect. You'd be surprised how much money you can save when you sleep on job sites.
Yeah.
And then he says, also, if he's really in a bind, he can just ask his doctor, who's very philanthropic and is always willing to give money to a good cause, which is where we end up next. Gary is at his doctor's. And Gary lays out his bin Laden kidnapping plan to the doctor in this petition for $1,000. And the doctor's like, that's fucking crazy. You require dialysis and you don't have any training, and God didn't tell you to do this. That's ridiculous. So stop lying and tell me why you really need the money. And Gary's like, you're right. I'm lying. I met a girl who's very special and I want to get her an engagement ring. It's $1,000. Could you spare it? And the doctor's like, it's fine. And writes him a check after being like, you sure you're not going after bin Laden? And Gary's like, no. I'm not doing that. It's about getting
we didn't mention him in housekeeping, but this is the doctor's played by Matthew Modine, who played Joker in Full Metal Jacket and John Locke in Lost.
Yes. So of course Gary turns around and immediately goes and buys a sailboat with the cash. The guy selling it, this is a very funny scene.
He's a very crusty individual.
Yeah, he's a big bearded fella. And they're sharing a joint. And this guy reiterates what everybody else has said, that you can't sail to Pakistan. That's ridiculous. Nick Cage smokes a joint in the funniest way I've ever seen anybody ever smoke a joint in this scene, in which he keeps taking tiny short puffs from it, but 25 of them. And the whole time, the dude whose joint it is, you have to assume, it keeps trying to get it back from him while he's like, it's good. It's a good bit. We get another good bit where Gary's like, what are these things on stuck on the bottom of the boat? And the guy's like barnacles. He's like, are those like mussels? And the guy's like, sort of. He's like, so you can eat them? And he's like, I guess. And he's like, all right, so I need like a scuba tank or something to go under the boat and scrape these off, so I have something to eat during my journey. He's like, oh, dude, you just need like a snorkel and goggles. It'll be fine.
They make a nice soup out of them.
Yeah. And
he says, put him in a bouillabaisse. that line cracked me up a little bit.
And my next favorite bit about this is we see another solid visual gag is the boat is named the Aries, which Gary paints a G in front of. That's solid. That is
solid. Yeah,
I missed that actually.
There is some charming shit in this movie. I just find it generally overall kind of grating.
I understand it, and I'm also not surprised given just the track record of the director in general. That's kind of his modus operandi, right?
Yeah.
So Gary just has his boat parked in a slip at a dock and doesn't seem to understand how slips work, because a police officer of some sort is like, you can't park your boat here. Do you own the slip? He's like, what are you talking about? I saw a parking spot and I put my boat in it.
I think he said I slipped it in.
Yeah. And the officer is like, that's not how these work. And he's like, listen, I'm on a mission from God. I've got to go capture bin Laden and I've got to sail to Pakistan. And you see the lady go like, oh, okay. And she asks him some basic questions about it. The best part about this is Gary's arm is in a sling right now. And we learn why it is, because she's like, did you, what happened to you? Did you get hurt? And he's like, look, I sprained my arm trying to get the sail up, trying to lift the sail, something with the sail that in the main mast, like just very obvious. He has no idea how to pilot
He's
this
trying to
boat
make
that
it
he
go
bought.
up.
Yeah. And so she goes off to get like more people to stop him. And Gary undoes the rope and pushes off at this point, because despite how goofy he is, he knows when the fucking jig is up. So he goes to flee the scene. We get a bit where he's trying to record himself while he's on the sailboat, but of course the camera he's recording himself on falls over the edge of the boat and into the water. And then we cut to him waking up on a beach and asking if he's in Pakistan, but it is obvious that he has ended up in Mexico. And this is actually true. He real life Gary Faulkner tried to do this, got caught in a storm, and got blown into Baja California across the border.
That's like the best case scenario too.
It is, honestly, this movie could have ended way quicker if that went a different way. And I think that is a good point at which to call it. Let's stop it here. There's a lot more to get through, but I think we've set up the bumbling antics of this real life person. So I'm sure the rest of this is going to go just fine.
Yeah, like right before we get into the shit.
Yeah, maybe. There and then honestly, the further we get from here, the more liberties are sort of taken with the story. But it's interesting, if nothing else. So while you're waiting for the second half of this film to drop, please give us a follow on social media. You can find us on Twitter at cagefight_pod.
Hey, don't dead name it. It's called X.
Oh fuck, I forgot how stupid everything has become.
He will get mad at you if you call it Twitter. He can't remember his own child's name.
No, he named his kid X. That's the whole bit. He's been trying to name things X for like forever.
Wasn't that like a big thing in the 70s, just naming shit X? Like, there's that punk band X, that fucking sci-fi novel X.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think the best way to decipher Elon Musk's activities is to remember who you were as a 13-year-old, and then imagine your brain never developed beyond that. So Elon's like XX69420XX AOL screen name is just, that's it. That's all he remembers. That is the basis of his personality and sense of humor. And so when our X account is inevitably banned, you'll have to follow us on Facebook with the uncles.
I have been tagging Elon Musk in things.
I know.
Yeah, I saw.
Wait, good. What did I say?
You said that we were gonna start posting our fucking shit to X videos.
Oh, yeah, I did say that because he's a fucking idiot, because it's called, he wants to call it X videos.
It already apparently got banned in a country because of their basic protections against like porn shit online.
Yeah.
Ban Twitter.
It's not Twitter anymore.
Ban X.
I think the entire bit is to transfer like the working guts of Twitter to a different company under the X brand name. And then when the creditors come for whatever money they're owed by Twitter, all that's left is essentially the worthless brand without an actual application to attach it to.
I don't think he's smart enough. I don't think he's smart enough for that to happen.
No, it's a dumb idea. It is just dumb enough of an idea that I'm pretty sure it's his idea.
Well, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/NickCageFight. Give us $1. Listen to this episode without having your ears bombarded. Well, I mean, they'll still get.
We'll still do our bombarding.
Yes,
the good bombarding.
Yeah, but you won't have to listen to BYU anymore.
Yeah,
or Lancaster.
I am very curious.
I've actually been re-listening to our back catalog, trying to figure out what kind of ads we generally get. It's mostly Penn Medical. It's like 90% like Penn Medical fucking ads about how you should go to the hospital.
I don't think they have their finger on the pulse of our demographic here.
I don't either.
I don't think our market share has a whole lot of
Money
need
to go to
Penn
hospital?
Medical.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe our market share is literally just like 55-year-old uncles.
It might be, but I would expect more. I would expect more weird comments on our Facebook. Not, I mean, I'm acknowledging the fact that almost all of our direct messages on Facebook are people who think we are Nick Cage.
Yeah,
I was
got
gonna
one.
say there might be a precedent here.
It's like
Hang
the
on,
only messages we have gotten so far are like, Nick Cage, I love your work. And we're like, thank you. Send me money.
I need money to finance Face Off too. Facer offer.
Our latest one
Connor
was
error.
our latest one was, hey Nick Cage, Joey from New York here.
Hi, Joey from New York. I've got John Travolta here. We're looking for money to finance Face Off 3, the faceless
Honestly,
office.
we haven't, in honesty, we haven't decided how to deal with these messages, but I'm kind of thinking that we should respond to all of them and ask them what they want for Christmas. Just try and get Nick Cage to play Santa Claus in an upcoming movie and get some money for doing viral marketing. That's my plan. That's the best one I've come up with so far.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, we could make another X account, which is like Santa Claus Nick Cage, and just post all of our conversations where we ask these people what they want for Christmas after they message us thinking we're Nick Cage. That could be fun.
Yeah, I'll see if the Twitter handle "Yes, I'm Nick Cage" is taken.
No, it's got to be a Santa Nick Cage bit. You got to lean into the weird, stupid gimmick there. All right, yeah,
Santa Cage, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. That's a wrap. Let's put a bow on this one. Check us out on social media. Check back for the thrilling conclusion of Army of One, where we dissect the rest of this movie and then the real life of this guy to a certain extent, and then criticize the fuck out of it. But as always, listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate you.